The Pittsburgh Steelers, well, their playoff hopes are still alive. And yes, I laugh as I say that because they shouldn't be. Their playoff hopes should not be alive, but they are. And this is just classic Pittsburgh Steelers football. What's up, everybody? I'm Noah Strackbine. Thank you for jumping on to Steelers to Go, your daily to-go cup of Pittsburgh Steelers news and analysis. Find us on youtube.com/all Steelers talk or anywhere you get your podcasts. And today, well, we're talking about the Pittsburgh Steelers and the fact that just weeks ago, I was coming up with every article to try to keep people's interest and hope alive for the playoffs, talking about how the Steelers still have a chance, even if that chance is 0.01%. And today we're talking about a miracle and how that miracle seems close. But for the Pittsburgh Steelers, is this even close? Like, is this even something that surprises you? I walked through the locker room after the Baltimore Ravens win and talked to a number of guys. And after I was done, I'd joke and I'd say, who'd you want to face? Would you rather face Kansas City or Buffalo? And most of them would joke and say Cincinnati. And it's crazy because you don't think that that's still a real possibility, but it is. And it's a very real possibility for the Pittsburgh Steelers, even if they still need a miracle to get in. Right now, the Steelers need to beat the Cleveland Browns, which is no easy task. It's an AFC North football. It's the first time they'll play Deshaun Watson. This team is winning, but they're not necessarily playing very well. So you can't expect the Steelers to waltz into Acrisure Stadium, host the Browns, and just walk away with a win. Even if, and yes, I will give this to Steelers Nation because you have to give this to Steelers Nation, even if fans are going to be through the roof. That noise level is going to be crazy. Acrisure Stadium is going to be nuts. And it's going to be a hard one to win in if you're not the Pittsburgh Steelers. But the Steelers have to beat the Cleveland Browns, and then they have to hope that the New York Jets beat the Miami Dolphins. And we don't know what's going to happen with the Miami Dolphins because Tua Tagovailoa is still in the concussion protocol. Things don't seem very good over there. Teddy Bridgewater is believed to have broken his finger, and it's Skylar Thompson for the Miami Dolphins against possibly Mike White. So they need the Jets to win, and then they need the Buffalo Bills to fight for the number 1 seed and beat the New England Patriots. And if all three of those things happen, the Pittsburgh Steelers are playoff bound. That's crazy. That's crazy to think about. That's crazy to hear. That's crazy that at one point we were talking about how this team was 2-6 and that, yeah, they could turn it around, but they weren't going to turn it around well enough to actually make a run. A lot of this season was talked about of, oh, well, maybe they'll get a top 5 pick. Maybe they'll get a top 10 pick. Now we're talking about the playoffs. Here's the thing, though, and I know not everybody's going to agree with me, and I get it. I do. I get the criticism. But when it comes to Mike Tomlin, this is not a surprise. It's not a surprise because this is who Mike Tomlin is, and this is who he coaches. He coaches guys like this. He looks for guys like this. Guys like Kenny Pickett and Najee Harris that even when your back is against the wall, you will step up. That's who these guys are. I asked Pat Freiermuth in the locker room about Kenny Pickett and who he is and what makes him so good. And I mean, he said exactly what you would expect him to say, that's just who Kenny Pickett is. The Steelers started working this into Kenny Pickett a long time ago. During training camp, a lot of what Kenny Pickett would do would be 2-minute drill and red zone, especially with the first team. And you knew exactly why. They were sculpting a winner. They were working on his intangibles. If the Steelers found themselves in a moment that was big, they didn't want it to be too big for their rookie quarterback. And here they are, and that's coming off to pay dividends. But that's who Kenny Pickett was, and that's who they wanted to fine-tune. They wanted to know that Kenny Pickett is the intangible genius, the almighty hero in these weighing moments. And he seems to hold up to that, which gives you some hope for the Pittsburgh Steelers, right? Like you sit here and you think, well, what if they make it to the postseason? Can they pull off some incredible, unrealistic win? And you can't say no, because if you say no, you're shutting down exactly what the Pittsburgh Steelers have done this entire season. Prove every single one of us wrong and prove that no matter how big the climb is or how challenging the feat is, they can come through. That's crazy to think about, right? But maybe the Pittsburgh Steelers' entire 2022 season has just been crazy because maybe that's who they're supposed to be. The Steelers weren't supposed to win this season. The Steelers were supposed to be in a rebuild. The Steelers were supposed to struggle and have a bunch of holes that they needed to fix and be unable to fix them. Well, right now they have found holes or fillings for all of their holes. And they have scratched their way back and fought some hard teams in some hard games to find themselves here in week 18 with a possibility, even if it's still slim, of making the postseason. That is crazy. I don't know what to make of the Steelers season. I don't know what to make of the current situation. And I don't know what to make of their hopes if they somehow pull this off. What I can make out is that the Steelers have surpassed all expectations and that Mike Tomlin and these Pittsburgh Steelers players deserve much more credit than they are given, because this season should have been lost, and it was lost. You entered the season with a bridge quarterback who didn't pan out, had to turn to your rookie quarterback in the midst of a game, the worst way to throw him into the fire, where he then went to Buffalo and got all confidence just obliterated from him, still managed to keep his head up, continued to struggle. The entire team continued to struggle. Your star running back that was supposed to lead this organization gets hurt twice, once in training camp, once in week 1. Your reigning defensive player of the year goes down with a torn pec in week 1. You don't have a cornerback situation. You don't have an inside linebacker situation. You were supposed to have a bad offensive line. There was not much going for the Pittsburgh Steelers coming into 2022. And as things started to unfold, those little expectations shrunk to the point where at one point we were talking about how the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to have such a high draft pick that they might get a guy like Will Anderson or have to consider drafting a quarterback. And instead, here we are. The Steelers should have rebuilt this season. This was their rebuilding season. It still is their rebuilding season. But somehow they have rebuilt while still fighting and winning. 99% of NFL teams can't say that they do that. 99% of NFL teams go through the life cycle much differently than the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I won't take my foot off the gas of this is a rebuilding season for the Steelers, because I believe that it is. I believe this is a rebuilding year for the Steelers. And I think that in the next year, maybe 2 years, they'll be much better than they are right now. Which is nuts to say, or we could stick with the word crazy if we'd like. It's crazy to say that right now they sit with an opportunity to make the playoffs because they are in the midst of a rebuild. And this is a lost season. And this shouldn't have gone anywhere. But the Pittsburgh Steelers are not giving up, and they never did. Mike Tomlin is a great coach. He might not win you Super Bowls every single year. But in moments like this, moments where the Steelers should be very bad, were very bad, probably still are very bad, and have fought their way to a point where they will enter week 18 with a chance That is where Mike Tomlin shows his greatness. That is where Kenny Pickett shows why he was a first round pick. That shows why you draft Najee Harris. It's a bunch of people on a team that people have reasons why they shouldn't be there. But the Steelers are proving that they deserve to be. And here they are.